Welcome to Sensual Sequence Contents, home of romance and sensual life stories received and shared. My name is Amber and I'm 50 years old. I'm going to tell you about a time in my life that changed everything. A time when I found myself drawn to someone I never expected. It happened with my son's friend, Jay. We shared moments in the car, at home, and in places you wouldn't even imagine. Trust me, you'll be shocked. I've been married to Raymond for more than 30 years. In the beginning, everything was beautiful. We laughed, shared intimacy, and built a family together. But as the years passed, Raymond grew distant. He stopped touching me, stopped whispering sweet words, and most of the time he barely even noticed me. I felt invisible, like a ghost drifting through my own home. The only thing that kept me going was my son, Philip. His energy and enthusiasm were the only warmth in my life. But then, something changed. Philip's best friend, Jay, had always been around, but recently, his visits became more frequent. At first, I thought nothing of it. Just a polite young man spending time with my son. But then, I started noticing the way he looked at me. It wasn't the casual glance of a guest in my home. It was something else, something that made my skin tingle. Jay was 23. Athletic, charming, and incredibly captivating. His presence reminded me of the excitement I used to feel when I was younger, when I was desired, when I was alive. One evening, while Raymond and Philip were out of town for a few days, Jay stayed behind a little longer than usual. He asked if I needed help with anything, and before I knew it, we were sitting together drinking coffee and talking about life. It turned into one of the most honest conversations I'd had in years. I told him everything. How Raymond had become distant, how lonely I felt, how I was lost in a marriage that no longer felt like a marriage. Jay listened. He truly listened. His eyes held understanding, kindness, and something else, something deeper. I hesitated when he offered to stay a little longer, but when our hands touched, something inside me shifted. That touch, so simple, so unintentional, sent a warmth through me that I hadn't felt in years. That night we talked for hours. I opened up to him in a way I hadn't with anyone in so long. He wasn't just listening, he saw me. And there was a pull between us, something undeniable. Jay slept on the couch that night, and I went to my bedroom. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see was him. The next morning, as I made breakfast, Jay walked into the kitchen with a soft, knowing smile. "Good morning, Amber." "That smells amazing," he said, his voice warm and smooth. I turned to him, my heart pounding. Over the next few days he kept stopping by. He knew I was alone until Raymond and Philip returned, so he stayed around, to keep me company, to help out. But with each passing day, the space between us grew smaller. One afternoon, as we sat in the backyard drinking tea, Jay suddenly said, "Amber, you know I'm really drawn to you, don't you?" Froze, my breath catching. I didn't know what to say. Then he reached for my hand, his fingers brushing against mine. "You're an incredible woman," he whispered. "I need you to know that." That moment changed everything. With a rush of courage, I didn't pull my hand away. I stopped thinking about whether it was right or wrong. I just felt. Our connection deepened. Jay made me feel special, desired, alive. But with that passion came guilt, and an internal war raged within me. I was a wife, a mother. But every time I looked at Jay, I couldn't deny the need that burned inside me. One day we took a trip out of town, just the two of us. We walked along the beach, waves kissing the shore as the sun set in the distance. It felt like an escape, a world that belonged only to us. Tears welled in my eyes as Jay took my hand. "When I'm with you," he murmured, his lips inches from mine. "Nothing else matters. It's just us." His words awakened something inside me, a longing I had buried for years. The time we spent together that day was unforgettable. The ocean breeze, the warmth of his hand in mine, felt like I was dreaming. But eventually it was time to return. As we drove back, a strange mix of calm and exhilaration settled over me. Halfway home, Jay pulled the car over to a secluded spot, turning to me with those deep, knowing eyes. "Should we stop here for a bit?" he asked. I couldn't find my voice, but I didn't need to. I just nodded. The silence between us was louder than words. Slowly, Jay reached for my hand again, his touch sending shivers down my spine. Every thought, every doubt melted away. What happened next wasn't rushed or reckless. It was electric, intoxicating, and utterly inevitable. It wasn't just physical. It was connection. A raw, undeniable force that neither of us could resist. When we finally started driving home again, I knew something had shifted between us forever. Jay still looked at me the same way, his gaze filled with warmth and longing. And when we arrived back at the house, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. Raymond was still lost in his own world, oblivious to the fire that had ignited within me. And I was no longer just existing, I was alive. Our story wasn't a typical love story. It was an affair of the soul, an adventure of impossibilities. I don't know where this is going. Maybe it will end. Maybe it won't. But when Jay is with me, I don't feel broken. I don't feel forgotten. Feel wanted. And for the first time in years, feel. Hi guys. If you love romantic and intimate scenes that make your heart race, then you're in the right place. Here on Sensual Sequence, we bring you the most captivating moments filled with passion, chemistry, and pure emotion. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Let's build a community that appreciates the art of love and connection. Subscribe now and let's dive into the world of romance together.